Welcome, everyone, to another broadcast of The Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. All past shows are available as podcasts. You can find them at ArtistFirst.com. Send us your questions and comments. DJ at ArtistFirst.com. And now, here they are, your co-hosts, Michael and Margaret Lyons.
Thank you very much, C-Man. We're on. It was a very frustrating. We had to practice our patience to get ourselves onto the internet tonight.
Not to let your piece be moved.
But we're here. And we're going to persevere. And that is not the topic tonight. But it might as well be. Anyway, so internet problems aside, interesting to a lot of what we talk about on The Soul of the Everyman, and this is something which really can't be overstressed. We have an interesting saying in English: is you only live once, right?
Yep.
Live for today. Don't put it off for tomorrow, because you may not get tomorrow. And the way I put it in this particular one, once we get it up onto the website and everything's wonderful and hunky-dory and the internet comes back and the world stops ending, is tomorrow never comes. There really is no tomorrow. There is only now. And I think we spend an inordinate amount of time thinking about tomorrow, and an inordinate amount of time thinking about the past, about yesterday. And, in our human minds, both those things exist. We have an amazing superpower. We think that the past exists, and it did, but that's the past tense. It did exist, but it no longer does in any actual sense. You can't touch the past. You can only remember it. And we also think that the future exists. And that's perhaps our biggest fantasy. We have our fantasies that we live here. And our biggest fantasy is that we think the future exists, when the future does not exist. And it never has. We talk very confidently about the future. We talk very confidently about tomorrow. We talk confidently about next year or next week or 10 years from now. And yet, there is nothing less certain than your next breath. And I think, Margaret, I think why we do it is we're scared. Because we really know that there is no such thing as our next breath or our next heartbeat. And that if it's not, certainly not, it doesn't have to be death, but it is. It's just the end comes. It's unknown. It's unknowable. Or just events. We don't really know what's going to happen when we open our door and step out onto our porch. And not knowing makes us scared. We're scared.
Hey.
And because we're scared, we want surety. And so we've made up an amazing fantasy that we know what tomorrow is going to bring. And, there's one thing about it is we do a lot in our present moment to try to assure what the next moment is going to be like. Almost everything we do in the present moment is in some way concerned with moments which haven't happened yet. And it as because of what we are, because we live in a matter temporal universe, we have to do things in sequence. We have to do things in time. We have to say, well, this, it all goes. But the important part of our awareness should be in the now. As Tolle says, and as many people say, it's in the now in which we live. If an important part of our awareness is centered on what has happened, Tolle calls it the pain body, or there are many people who talk about being focused on the past, being focused on regrets, all these things. Then you cannot experience the now. We actually don't multitask as human beings. We do one thing at a time, and the now can be polluted by the not now, and the not now is the past in many cases, and it's the future in many cases. So we came to this, now I've gone on a sort of a diatribe, but where we came to this was from Picasso, the wonderful artist Picasso. And he had a saying, and it's very pithy, and I'm going to shut up and let you read it.
All right. Only put off until tomorrow what you are willing to die having left undone. Pablo Picasso. Oh my. Well, that refers back to no regrets. Understanding that this is your moment, and if you really care about what you are seeing and you feel the need and understand that somehow you can bring whatever this moment is that's in front of you to a better place, then do it now. Expecting it forward or contemplating it in your past are non-existent.
They're conceits.
Your path that has unfolded in front of you, your moment right in front of you, is the one that matters. And we have a tendency to want to judge whether or not something is more important than something else. And again, it all depends on the field that you've decided to interact with.
What do you mean by field?
If it's everyday commonplace, like if I don't do this now, this needs to be taken out of the freezer so that it can defrost. Otherwise, we won't have dinner tonight. Simple, everyday. That's one field. The field of operation of every day. I've got things to take care of. But when you think of it in terms of, do I need to interact with this person? Do I have another moment in order to do this with this person? And we always assume we do. We always assume that, wasn't that vacation fun? Let's plan for next year. Rent in a certain area, or et cetera, et cetera. Like we're going to plan for our vacation. And then, and stuff you really have no way of anticipating. I mean, everything from all the stuff going on last year, where you nobody's supposed to be in anybody's vicinity at all, presence. You can barely look at the person.
Eye cooties.
Yeah.
You see what I did there?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Moving on.
And that just swept a whole bunch of plans right down the drain for a lot of different people, and in many different ways. And the reality came in of, who said you're going to be here tomorrow? do remember one time I was in discussion with, and I just said, you really have no certainty of that. So she proceeded to want to take me in hand and say, well, you have to think positively. And just assume that tomorrow when it comes, you'll see your children and you'll see your husband and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I looked at her and just said, I can't do that.
Right.
Which I mean, you're like, well, why not? And it was a very interesting conversation, because what it meant to me was she was never in a position where she had no control. She always felt that everything was well within her management, and I just must not be managing things right. So the first thing you need to do is assume that you're going to see everybody.
I want to stop you for 1 second. I like that phrase that you said. She was obviously never in a position where she didn't have control.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason I wanted to stop you is I wanted to interject this. That statement was never true. What the actual statement that she was really espousing, the philosophy she was espousing, is she was never in a position where she realized she was never in control. In other words, it was always a fantasy, always a lie. But now, I'm sorry, go ahead.
But that was her field of operation. Okay, it's a very narrow field. This is my world and my family and all my children. We send them to school, we get them on the bus, we organize things, we manage groceries and laundry and everything else. That's her field. And I realized she didn't have a field larger than that.
And that's exactly the right point, is that field is really nothing more than an artificial playground. It's like a sandbox. It's something that you've built around yourself to shield yourself from the reality, the actual reality, which is that none of those things. And I think it's also interesting that what you got back initially was, you can't be so negative, because I think that field assumes that within this field all is good. I have everything under control, and if I ever go outside of it, I'm dwelling on the morbid. I'm depressed. I'm suicidal. I now no longer believe in the goodness of life or that things going to go on. But in fact, neither of those things is true. But that's the field, right?
Right. She basically couldn't understand, since I looked like I was somewhat normal, why I couldn't just assume that it will all play out nicely. And some people, the phrase, we've all heard this phrase, oh, don't borrow trouble.
Yeah. Because in essence, people, you also heard the phrase, don't jinx it, in essence. But if you say this, you're calling in, trouble on yourself.
But that's the interesting part. It's understanding that there is a big difference between sitting there and worrying about something and having a perspective where you understand intimately that your next breath is not your own. The perspective is very different, very great.
Isn't that tie into last? If you've been following along, last week's show was about perspective.
But my point being, in the conversation, it just felt as if we weren't meeting on the same ground.
Right.
Okay, when I realized that she's talking about this thing over here, and she has no way of understanding where I happen to be, because I obviously was not talking about the same thing that she was. It meant something completely different to her. That's why I always say you have to find your terms.
Find your terms, right?
Because people have different concepts attached to different words. And for her, this was, well, you just assume that that's fine. And if that's been your world, all I say is God bless you, because honestly, I don't want you to feel this tumultuous, groundless, terrifying state when it first happens. But when you are present in it and allow all this to move through you, that's when you realize all those fields are just two-dimensional, flat planes in different areas, and you are floating above all of this in a broader dimension that those in the small field cannot see. And frankly, you don't want to bring them up where you are, because it's a lot of work, and they may not be ready for it.
Well, I want to, let's unpack that a little bit. I mean, what we're basically talking about has been talked about by many philosophers. Nietzsche was one. This sort of terrible presence that he talked about. Plato with the cave. It's all part of awakening. You can even look at it in one sense with the Buddhism, with the Enlightenment. It's all part of the awakening. You are a sleeper in this regard, in the sense that you believe in tomorrow. And you also believe in yesterday. But believing in tomorrow is really what we're talking about with this particular phrase, with Picasso's. If we take his statement apart, only put off until tomorrow, what he's really saying here is that tomorrow is the day you die, in essence, or the day that you could die, or that tomorrow may not come. This, what you are willing to die having left undone, is a very succinct way of saying that what you're doing right now is the most important thing in your life, the right now doing. Not what you did last year, not what you did 10 years ago, not where you came from or who you were and all the other things, nor what you think will happen tomorrow. You have, you mentioned it earlier. The wall encourages you to make these plans that are going to come true, and that it's going to be this, and then that's going to happen, and this one's going to come, and then da-da-da-da-da-da. And this whole, let's call it the sort of worldwide disruption, has woken up a lot of people to the fact that tomorrow is not what yesterday said it was going to be, or what you think it might be. It should, the positive thing to take away with, this woman was talking to you about the negative. Oh, don't dwell on the negative. The positive thing to take away from it, the actual thing that you must learn, is that the moment of now is also the most precious moment. This moment, the moment when you are drawing your breath, when your heart is beating, when you can pick up whatever it is you pick up and bring it to yourself, when you can interact with someone with whom you have a relationship, whether it's on the phone, or personally interact with someone directly. That moment of interaction, yes, is a microcosm. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens moment by moment. But yet each moment can be enjoyed, experienced. If you remember Stranger in a Strange Land, the phrase was grokking. Now I'm really dating myself. However, that idea of living in the present moment was what that word meant. It was a made-up word by a science fiction writer, but yet he had something interesting there. The philosophy that was being espoused was to live wholly present in the moment. That when you hug somebody, and I know you do this, you as you may or may not know, Margaret is incredibly fearless and goes up to people who are in great distress and just hugs them. And there's a moment in which they are both present, whomever she's with, and they feel this amazing healing presence. That's what you do. However, that moment of interaction is a choice and then an action, and then it's lived in the exact present moment. So the two hearts, a relationship, is being prosecuted. It's being lived in the moment. You're not saying, "Oh, it really sucks to be you, and I'm so sorry for you, and I'll send you a gift card, and next year we'll go out to dinner," blah 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 blah. No, you open your arms up, and you put your body next to theirs, and you hug them, and it's wordless, and there's a connection of energy, of someone whose heart is perhaps in a broken state or in a wounded state, and you give of something of yourself, and you receive something of their, you witness their pain, you give them a human contact, you say, "I've been there, I am you, I give you what I have at this moment because I've received it at another moment." But it's still, this is the present moment of witnessing another human's experience. It doesn't always have to be suffering. It doesn't have to be, but that's the moments when people really need it. But even just, I'll give you another example, When a child is playing, they're playing completely in the moment. If you watched a 2 or 3-year-old having their little fantasy conversation with themselves about what's going on, and they're entirely in the moment. They don't need you to say, "Oh, what are you doing? Are you doing this or that?" They're like, but if you just sit down and just witness, and then they're doing something, you just hand them something, and you say, "Isn't this neat?" Or you go, "I like red," and you just kind of pick up a red thing, and they're like, "Man, you get it. You're in the moment too. Let's go dig a hole in the sand together." And that present moment of sharing is also a witnessing, and it's so incredibly enjoyable. We've talked about this where you sit on the beach and everyone's pretty much looking equal. We've all got our shorts or our bathing suits on, and a hole starts to be dug, and then children, completely unrelated, all from all over the beach, come to this hole. Adults, children, we're all in the present moment. We start digging the hole. No one knows anybody's name. Nobody knows who they came from or what they do. There's all colors, all races, none of it matters. We're in the moment of digging a hole in the beach. And that's a witnessing, and it's a present moment. And when you come away from it, suddenly you realize that you have to go home and cook dinner. You feel so refreshed. And in the moment of suffering, you feel so relieved that someone else witnesses your suffering. It takes some courage, which you have in amazing quantities. Don't look at me like that. I'm afraid now. But you receive the reward, and you see the gratification, the gratitude, the succor that you provide to this person in their suffering need, and the witnessing of humanity. That happens in the now. It can't happen in the, "Oh, I'll go hug them in the future." No. That's true. You got to do it now.
Well, it's being in that moment, and then suddenly you see someone just broken-hearted,
Right,
grieving, and silently crying. Rolling down their face. Looking at that, my question is, how can you not do something?
And you're right, but you know what rises is this fear, and it's an incorrect fear, but the fear of well maybe they'll reject, maybe they won't, well, maybe, and you and people who also do these things step right past that and say, the need brooks no delay. Their humanity needs a witness, and I'm here.
Right.
So living in the present moment, you don't even think about yourself. You live in the present moment, and you say, the words are, they need me. It's like when you see someone who's about to drown and you're there, you're the human being on the spot, and you no longer care about the fact that you could die. Your humanity cries out that this humanity requires an action, and you're here. You're elected without ever having run for it. But yeah, you always have the choice. You can refuse it, but it is such an evocative call. When you're called to it, you feel it instantly.
Yes, but that's my point. When your heart feels the sorrow or the pain that this other person is going through, do not reach out to them. So people want to, and this is something I've been observing. People have a tendency to want to just come to the person and like tap them or speak to them. You know, there's a bit of distancing there.
Yeah. It's like what that woman said to you. Oh, it'll be all right. Tomorrow you'll feel better. I lost my dog died too. I want to kill you right now. But that's what they want to give it. They want to give an all right. They want to put a wall around it. And
well, maybe that, I guess, is the question then. When they wind up doing this, the talking at the person. Oh yes, I'll pray for you, or I'll send something, or et cetera, et cetera. I look at that and I go, you're pulling away from this moment.
Mm.
That's where Picasso's quote comes in.
Yeah.
If you died in that moment, will you regret not having extended out hands to this person?
Exactly right. Exactly right. That moment of witnessing is an opportunity, and if you don't take it, you don't get to do it later.
No.
It's in the moment. You're elected in the moment, and you have that moment. And when you've been elected, you can still say no, but you don't get. There's no backseas.
I don't know. Okay, I've always wondered about how you couldn't do that. Couldn't extend yourself when someone's in obvious pain. It screams. And just you being there. You don't have to say anything.
Nope.
Just be there with them in their trial. And that's more than enough. Because you're standing there, conscious witness to what's going on.
The courage is you have to acknowledge that this could happen to me, and this is me.
Yes. And I guess maybe that is the baseline. It's the experience. Again, I think we said this before. You just know that they haven't engaged in the deep water of living and dying in the moment.
Mm.
Understanding your choices right there. And everything, all the power is right in the words that you say in that moment, or the hand that you extend in that moment. There's nothing more. More. If you do not extend the hand, then that is a missed moment to engage in a candid love, a true love.
In the present moment. In this present moment, we're going past our commercial time. So let's take a break. Let's go back. This has been pretty heavy, but don't put off till tomorrow these commercials that you might listen to right now, although I would myself.
Rick Riordan fans, love mythology with plenty of action and humor? Destroyer's Blood is for you. the new fantasy novel by award-winning author Michael Lynes, is Book 1 of the Adventures of Devkalion, the Blood series. Follow Dev and his magic sword Betrayer as they are suddenly attacked and forced to return to Olympus to fight in a war they want no part in. The world of men and gods is about to be destroyed by Zeus's ancient foe, and only Dev and Trey can stop him. The conflict never stops, and the amazing twist will have you on the edge of your seat. Act now while the ebook is on sale for only 99 cents. Destroyer's Blood is available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere. And while you're there, get the free prequel, It's in the Blood, available for a limited time.
The wait is over. First Blood, Book 2 of the Blood series is out. Your favorite bad boy thief Dev is back, and the beautiful and deadly Trey is right there with him. She is sharp, sexy, and full of surprises. Their adventures continue as a new power arises to threaten the world. The heart of creation is under attack, and time is definitely not on their side as they battle against their enemies' undead hordes. Can they unlock the hidden power that can defeat him, or will his forces draw first blood? Get all 3 installments in the series. Book 0, It's in the Blood. Book 1, Destroyer's Blood, and the new release, Book 2, First Blood, today. Available in ebook and paperback format on Amazon, Kobo, Apple, and most other fine e-tailers.
Hi, this is Hannah Ruth from the band Wild Hum. Check out our new Americana Soul CD, Wild Hum, at our website, wildhummusic.com. And you are listening to the ArtistFirst Radio Network. Thank you.
There is a Reaper is the story of 5-year-old Christopher Aaron and his life-changing struggle with leukemia. Winner of both the Indie Brag Medallion as well as the reader's favorite silver medal for memoir, There is a Reaper has more than 100 Amazon book reviews and a 5-star rating. It has been described as life-changing, spiritual, a must-read. Just released on Audible and iTunes, this memoir is also available in paperback and on Amazon Kindle for only 99 cents. Get your copy of this life-changing memoir today.
The Fat Man Gets Out of Bed is the latest book from Michael Lynes, the award-winning author of There is a Reaper. Featuring 13 original stories, this wide-ranging collection has everything. Forbidden love, gods versus demigods, weird invading aliens, sexy seductive artificial intelligence, and unusual passion between the living and the dead. All set amidst fantastic worlds of pain and loss and boundless joy. From the sublime to the macabre to the bittersweet, The Fat Man Gets Out of Bed will leave you breathless with laughter, brimming with tears, trembling with suspense. Available now on Amazon.com, Google Play, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere.
Hey, this is Java. Stay tuned for my debut album, Northern Sun, which drops on January 28, 2022. And in the meantime, check out my website at java.com, GJOVA, for released music, videos, and so much more. And you're listening to the ArtistFirst Radio Network.
Thanks for joining us on The Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. All past shows are available as podcasts. You can pick them up at ArtistFirst.com. Back to your hosts, Margaret and Michael Lynes.
See, man. Yes, we are back. And our internet is still working. We are grateful.
We think. But during the break, we did have an interesting discussion.
Indeed.
And a point was made. It was made by someone who's not on the radio with us right now, but might be. A point was made that in fact, it's not an invalid choice to put things off. In fact, saying that something is not worth your present moment is not only a valid choice, it's an important choice. That choice, Margaret, leads you to value the preciousness of the moment. In other words, let's objectify it. The choice to say, I could paint the shutters, or I could take this beautiful day and find someone who wants to share it with me and go out and experience it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, those two things are both things that you probably would do, but one of them brings you life and it brings you joy. And if you didn't paint the shutters ever, if every day you woke up and said, I should paint the shutters, but it's another beautiful day, and I'm going to enjoy it, I'm going to live it, and the shutters will wait until the end of time, and I don't care. You finally realize that the shutters never should have occupied your present moment, that they were never worth any of your time, that the important things are that you should evaluate the present moment with the point of view that if it's something which you can not only put off till tomorrow, but you can put off forever, and it never made a difference, that the list or the leaf raking or the chore or the task or that will never be worth a moment of your precious life's time. That's a wonderful thing to learn. And you can learn it without having to have dire circumstances. But when circumstances are dire, when you realize that you not only aren't guaranteed tomorrow, but that you really only have a very limited time left on the planet, and you just start to say to yourself, I don't care about paying this bill or painting those shutters or whatever. I don't care about any of that stuff. None of that matters. I'm going to live every day, every second, every moment as though it were my last. Once you come to that point and say, not only am I not going to do this today, and I'm going to put it off till tomorrow, I'm going to put it off forever. I'm going to realize that this was never worth my time. That's an important lesson.
It is a very important lesson to know what is worth the very breath of your body and what is not. You look at it and understand that those moments where you can make a heart-to-heart connection are the moments that you live for, the moments that really matter. Those are the moments that you take with you when you leave this world.
The eternity bank. I got it right once.
So embracing that, really realizing that this is why I'm here. And it's not this thing where I'm going to do something grand. I have this grand plan, and we're gonna work on this project until we get this done. There's nothing wrong with that if the people that you're involved with are all in harmony with you with that. But how many people have we seen, they're running a project and all the members of the family or the company or the division or the department, they're at odds. They don't agree. I don't want this. And then the fingers start pointing, well, you this and you that. That's not really sharing in the construction of something that you're all going to appreciate once it's done. You're going to be looking at this project and say, oh, we could have done this. Oh, we could have done that. Oh, it took too much money. Oh, did we blow past that budget?
Well, there's that, but I think the earlier point is better. Is this people have this phrase, if it doesn't give you joy, take it out of your life. This Marie Kondo nonsense. But there's a nub of truth in it. Each moment of now, you have a very large, well, you could say infinite, but it's a very large number of possibilities. You have things which may happen to you, and they're going to happen, and then you have to, in some way deal with them, control your reaction. And then there's things that you will, through your own volition, your own will, decide that I'm going to try to do. Now, you may not do them, but the moment of decision has a value to it. You must say to yourself, what the phrase is an opportunity cost. That's not the right way to say it in this context. But each thing that you decide to do are the many things you did not decide to do. So the decision of what you will do or how you will react to something which has occurred is always yours. And the thing is, you have to value that preciousness of your decision, and it's always, not always action. I hesitate to say your next action. It's a decision, but it's not necessarily an action. Your decision can be to do nothing. But the point being is that preciousness has to be that from your heart, and the heart is the good discerner here. What does the heart say is the next thing? What has heart? What has joy in it? You're earlier, when we were talking about when you see someone in pain and you are called upon, your heart is what is seeing the pain. Your heart is what is calling you to action and saying, you could do this for this other in whom you see yourself. You see the other's humanity, and you see your humanity. That's a heart-to-heart connection. You see that the other is in a moment of, could be lots of things. Could be suffering, for argument's sake. But it could be many other types of things. It could be a moment of joy. When someone's overjoyed, they want someone to share the joy with. You feel that, again, at your heart level. And just giving them your reflection or your experience of the joy of the joy of experiencing another's joy, is a heart-to-heart connection, a witnessing. Joy shared is joy magnified. We understand that. Well, suffering shared is suffering reduced, but it's also suffering witnessed and cherished in one way. You cherish that moment, but you've decided to do that versus, I'll write them a nice card, but that's I'll write them a nice card. Oh yes, I'll write them a nice card. And it's a future. Oh, I can't do it right now, but I'll write them a nice card next week. It'll be such a great card. Well, okay, but the truth was that your heart said to you, open up and witness and give them whatever it is they need. Become vulnerable and give yourself to that moment and say, I'm here. And if you need a hug or a witness or to talk or just someone to just, shed a tear with you or share your joy or share the moment, you're not doing the other things. You're not counting the books. You're not painting the shutters. You're not making a list. You're not sending a card. Or other things. You may say, well, I know I've got a terrible amount of pain, but I'm going to witness theirs anyway. In one's own suffering, one can even still extend oneself, and in the midst of great pain and suffering, still be a resource, a voice, a witness for someone else's pain and suffering. And that you say, well, why aren't they coming to me? Well, because it's still your decision, your choice. In some ways, the wounded healer is all of us. we are ourselves broken, but yet we are able to comfort the broken. Well, that sounds odd. Shouldn't you comfort yourself? Well, in some ways you are, by comforting another broken person.
Yeah, that is a foundational realization about humanity.
Mm.
We really are broken, each one of us, in some way. And the ones that acknowledge their brokenness are the ones that are willing to begin to take steps to ascend to a broader plateau where you can interact with all those others, understanding that, there's more to this than just this suffering.
Mm.
But to embrace the fact that we are all broken in some way is a big step, because that only happens when you come to the end of yourself.
Mm.
And a lot of people have trouble doing that because they believe that they're always in control. There's always a solution that I can cobble together. It's, I can always do it. And there's nothing wrong with being positive that way, that you can do it, but it's being realistic enough to understand when you have the capabilities and when you do not. And are you just projecting what you would like to happen?
Mm.
Because that doesn't necessarily solve the problem that you're trying to tackle. Being honest about it is also a very basic thing.
Oh, some of that same honesty, again, is at the heart level. You see your situation truly with the eyes of the heart. The mental, again, the mind, would like to fantasize and say that, if I just get enough of the facts and do enough research and consult with all the right experts, then I'll solve this. And I know that, I have to keep a positive attitude and consult with,
if I throw enough money at it.
or throw enough money at it. That's those are all the mental spins.
Mm-hmm.
Yet the heart would say, not only maybe that this is, you don't say, well, this is impossible, I'm going to do nothing about it. You say, I've done everything I can do. Now I just have to be here. And being here may be that I could do nothing, but I still have to be here. Tolle says, when you're in a situation where you can do nothing, then do that. Then just do the nothing. Accept it. People, Margaret, have a problem with accepting the situation because they say, well, you're not going to do anything?
Mm-hmm.
And accepting is a much deeper and an honest way of looking. You look at the situation in the now. Something happens, whatever it may be, and in the now, you say to yourself, and with the honesty of the heart, is there is nothing that I can do about this. That this person, no matter how much I want to yell at them, or I'm going to yell at them on and on and on, that they can't help it, that this won't happen, that nothing can actually affect the situation. The only thing I have control over is my reaction. And my reaction is accept it, that this is happening now. This is a basic acceptance of the reality of now. And then you say, in your basic acceptance of the reality of now, can I do anything? You can ask yourself this question. It's a very valid question. And if I can, perhaps I will try. Again, it's not that you aren't going to do anything. Accepting just means that you are in the present moment of whatever it is.
The acceptance you're speaking of is just acknowledgement of what is happening now.
And my place in it. the mind wants to put itself at the very pinnacle of existence, where everyone is concerned about it, and its pronouncements are listened to by all, and everything I'm talking about is incredibly important. And the heart knows that no, I am incredibly precious, but yet I am also relatively my existence is in and of itself vast and amazing and wonderful, but yet I am not important to everyone on the planet. I'm important to myself. That what happens to me is not of instant concern to everyone else around me, that it just happened to me, that my that there's no reason why it shouldn't happen to me. The honest heart says, well, why? The mind says, why me? The heart says, why not me? It could be me. Sometimes it's you. And if it is you, that's just as valid as it not being you. The fact that this happened to you, the mind says, oh, why this always happens to me, and they're always out to get me, and I this thing I did last week, and now I'm going to do tomorrow, and the heart just says, right now it sucks to be me, and I have to accept that, and I'm going to maybe try to do this, but I'm going to live in this moment, sucking me, and then the next moment will be less sucking me, and then maybe things will get good, and maybe I'll find someone to hug. Maybe someone will hug me. It'll be awesome. These things are accepting yet controlling the mental spin, the it's all about me and why does this always happen to me are all the mental spin.
Yeah. And again, the tendency to go into the mental is defense mechanism, so you don't have to go into the pain.
And you can keep the wall up about, well, if I yell at this person loud and long enough, they'll help me and fix my problem because it's very, very important to me.
Right. Your field is this little your boundary. It's all you. You never step outside of you.
Mm-hmm. What did you say the other day? Where it was the person who related that I don't accept that can't be the solution. You will get me a better outcome. It being the disease. You only have an 85% chance of whatever, and they're like, no. If I yell at you long enough, you'll give me a 95% chance.
Yes, and that was yes, that was a very interesting conversation. They were brand new to the diagnosis of their daughter having cancer, and he was Hasidic Jew, and it was a he, and he's talking to me, and I'm obviously female, so there's a certain attitude meaning things to females. And he was basically saying, oh no, this is what you have to demand from the doctors, better percentages. I just looked, I said, that you're on the 80% side of this. That you'll have 80% chance of it being treated. Who said you weren't the 20%?
Right. And that's when they'll say, you have to have a positive outlook.
Well, people want to say, oh no, you can't. And I'm sitting here going, you don't understand. I worked with numbers for a long time. I understand them probably in a way you are not, because all you want is this little pat answer, believing that, I'm going to just demand, and demanding it will give me the answer. And you sit there, you go, life, your field of life has been pretty small so far, hasn't it?
Well, and I think that it's very understandable, because it is a scary thing to realize how precious the current moment is. because you almost feel in one way that you don't ever want to waste it. Once you understand how precious it is, you right away ask your heart, is this worth it? Is what I'm going to do right now worth it? And if it isn't, it's this silly Marie Kondo, but the truth of it is, if what you think, if you have of all these possibilities and one of them speaks to your heart, do that one. Don't let that one go until tomorrow, because the heart knows there is no tomorrow. There's just now.
The only way, speaking for myself, that I could have survived being in the pediatric cancer wards with a child, you had a point where you understood that you have so many options to choose from, and the responsibility is yours, because you are the parent of the sick child. But you could be eaten alive by regrets under those conditions, and there were a lot of parents who were. You had to make the decision that whatever it is that we pick up, we're going to run with it to the very end, and whatever we decide not to do, that's what we are not doing. There are no regrets. Yes. We've come to the end of the show. And I'm Margaret.
And I'm Michael. And my mic was muted. So now I'm Michael. and thank you for listening.